Could Jadeveon Clowney be making a return to the Seattle Seahawks? Welcome into this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. We are talking about the possibility of bringing Clowney back and also reuniting with Seahawks head coach Mike Macdonald. We will dive in, show you what the latest rumors are, react to it, and more coming up in just a matter of moments. Before we do, folks, got a challenge for the 12s here on today's show. I want to set the record for most subscribers gained on a single video for the month of October. The most subs we've gained on one video is 122. Not bad, but I know we can do better than that, folks. Can we get 150 subs off of today's video? For daily Seahawks coverage, live shows every Wednesday, watch parties every game day, breaking news, Q&A mailbags, and more. It's all in one place right here on Seattle Seahawks Today. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/Seahawks TV, and we'll get started with today's show. 12th Man Rising is suggesting that the Seahawks make a trade for Panthers edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney. He recently joined the Panthers this offseason after previously playing with the Baltimore Ravens and was coached under Mike Macdonald as their defensive coordinator. More on that coming up later. But let's start with this from Lee Vowell of 12th Man Rising, who says the following. The Seahawks would add a good player who knows the city of Seattle, but more importantly, knows what Macdonald would want and the communication verbiage he uses. That player is Jadeveon Clowney. Plus, Seattle would only have to spend $1.5 million in adding him because Clowney is owed other money by the Carolina Panthers. Clowney would cost $8 million in 2025, but Seattle could release him and save $8 million. Hopefully, Clowney would prove himself to be worth being kept around next season, though. All right, now let's start with the elephant in the room here. I know a lot of you do not like Jadeveon Clowney. And believe me, I totally understand why. I get it. Let's get that out of the way first. But let's talk for a moment about the relationship with Mike Macdonald. This is a bit of a love fest between the two, a bit of a bromance, if you want to call it that, between Clowney and Mike Mack. They speak highly of one another. The one season they spent together in Baltimore was a great success for both parties involved. And on that end of things, it makes a ton of sense when you're talking about a player for this system, for what Mike Macdonald is trying to accomplish and what he's worked with previously in Clowney with the success they've had. And we've talked a lot about on this program previously about what Mike Macdonald has done with some of these older pass rushers, from Clowney to Kyle Van Noy to Justin Houston, among others. And you talk about the success that Clowney had last season in Baltimore in this defense. He had 43 tackles, 9.5 sacks. It was a career resurgence for him last year in Baltimore with 9 TFLs and 2 forced fumbles as well. And we mentioned the salary numbers, not an issue. Seahawks have about $12 million in cap space, so they could make that work. And I think you're looking at giving up about a 6th-round pick, potentially, is all you would give up for Jadeveon Clowney. Maybe a 7th-round pick. I mean, that is very doable if you're the Seattle Seahawks to pull this off and make this trade happen. If you're talking about just giving up a 6th at this point or a 7th, and for a Seahawks team that's trying to compete to make the postseason, a team that I feel is very close, but you had some injuries that have not gone your way, where you look at the Seahawks pass rushers of how things have stacked up for Seattle, of what they've lost. You know, we've been over it with Uchenna Nwosu. We've talked about that several times. And, you know, Boye's been banged up a bit. Even Derek Hall, who's been your best pass rusher this year, has been a bit banged up. You're trying to kind of get ahead on this, essentially. And I think that's what bringing in Clowney could do if you were to do that, of that potential trade idea of just giving up a 6th or 7th-round pick. I think it could make a ton of sense for Seattle in this case. So let's ask you now, should the Seahawks trade for Jadeveon Clowney? What do you guys think? I'll give you 2 options here. You can type T for trade, P for pass. Weigh in, let us know on our pinned comment today if you would trade for Clowney or not. All right, let's tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy, and it's real simple with Prize Picks. You choose two or more players in any given category, get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking fantasy points in football, rebounds in basketball, goals in hockey, all sorts of different categories to choose from. And on Prize Picks, folks, they got a great deal they're offering right now. If you spend $5, that's it, just $5, they're going to give you $50 to spend for free on Prize Picks. You don't have to win to get the money on Prize Picks, folks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS to get that offer today. And what I'm looking at for Tuesday night, opening night in the association, I got Anthony Edwards to have more than half a point. That's a gimme. And I'm going with Karl Anthony Towns, cap to have less than 21.5 points against the Boston Celtics. And if I put $20 down, both those hit, that turns into $60 on Prize Picks. Play along with me, prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Prize Picks, proud partner of Seahawks Today. More on Clowney. He has been a journeyman since being taken number 1 overall by the Houston Texans. Spent a little bit of time in Seattle, went to Tennessee after that, Cleveland and Baltimore. 3-time Pro Bowler, a second-team All-Pro in 2016. That was the best season of his career. And we talk about the resurgence that he had last year in Baltimore. We mentioned the 9.5 sacks. Compare that to what he had done previously. The Browns had kind of phased him out of their defense as he only had 2 sacks in 2022 in 12 games played. The year prior in Cleveland had 9 sacks. Not going as he would like in Carolina so far this year, just 1 sack and 12 tackles so far in the games that he's played. Now, I promised I would tell you about this relationship between Clowney and Mike Macdonald from their year together. Let's start with Macdonald's vantage point. He is a big fan of Jadeveon Clowney. And the way that Mike Mack described Clowney was that he plays the game the right way. And over the offseason, he was asked about Jadeveon Clowney, and he had this to say specifically. The guy that I see is a guy that loves playing football. He loves being around his teammates. He's a great guy who has a lot of thoughts on a lot of things, which is cool to hear, and he plays the game the right way. Well, it sounds like he plays the game the right way. So those are the type of guys we love having here, and you find not just at that position, but all across the team. Those guys play great football for us when we're able to find them. And here's the truth of the matter. For all of you out there that are not fans of Clowney, think about this. You could never have too many pass rushers. Not only have the Seahawks been shorthanded when it comes to pass rushers, but even if you were doing very well with pass rushers, you can't ever have enough. And as far as the relationship with these two, the love goes both ways between Clowney and Mike Mack. Clowney had this to say recently on Mike Macdonald. Mike Macdonald is the best defensive coordinator I've ever had. That sounds like a ringing endorsement to me as far as that goes when it comes to those two. Seems like they're on the same page on that front. Now, as nice as Sunday's win was against the Atlanta Falcons, and I was very impressed. I think we're all satisfied, very pleased with what the Seahawks did. The Falcons, what we saw from them of their offensive line was not great, right? Small sample size of just that one game. You can't say, well, because the defense played well that one game, that everything's right, everything's fixed. It was a step in the right direction, but there's a ways to go. If you're trying to make a push, like the Seahawks team is, towards being a playoff team, I think you're going to need more bodies. And you look at what the Seahawks did this past week, 3 sacks against the Falcons. That was good, but it could be better. You look at the Seahawks sack leaders so far this season. Derek Hall leading the way with 5, Boye with 4. Draymond Jones had a nice game this past week against Atlanta with 3. Leonard Williams with 2.5. Dodson and Reed each with 2. And here's where this works. The fit for Clowney and Mike Macdonald with this defense. Mike Mack would not be asking Clowney to play every single down. That's not what he's looking for in Jadeveon Clowney, and that's not how he was used in Baltimore for that matter. He would ask him to come in and get after the quarterback. I don't need to use Clowney in coverage. I don't even need to use Clowney to stop the run for that matter. I just need him to get after the quarterback. And that's all Seattle's asking for. That's all they would need. And Clowney is a very good fit to do just that. Now, do you expect John Schneider to make a move before the trade deadline? Do you want John Schneider to make a move before the trade deadline for a guy like Clowney? Or maybe it's an offensive lineman for that matter, or something else. What do you guys think? Type Y for yes, in for no. Weigh in, let us know. For continuing Seahawks coverage, subscribe now to Seahawks Today for the latest happenings on your favorite team all season long. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.